and we're at the Union phase of the 1430 turn. Let's pull up our sequence of play. And as usual, I don't have it pulled up. First step in the command phase is to issue new orders. Let's pull up our order chart for the Army of the Cumberland. That is the Confederate order table. And last turn we issued this order to 21st Corps here. That was the only order we issued, and now we're going to issue a very similar order, or Rosecrans is going to issue a very similar order to 20th Corps. Now and I've already got the order written out here, is to move and there's just one division of the 20th Corps here. This is Sheridan's division, the 3rd Division of the 20th Corps. So the order is to move the 3rd Division north on the Lafayette Road to defend the road near the Brock Cabin. So going back to the map, so since our previous order was to move the 21st Corps to the south of Davis's division, now we're going to try to move the 20th Corps essentially to the north to contribute to the defense in a more northerly portion. And so we're issuing this order during the 1430 turn. I already counted the leader movement points. It's 9 leader movement points to get down to the 20th Corps headquarters. So 9 rounds up to 10. Divide by 10 equals 1. So just as before, it will take 1 turn for that order to reach the headquarters of the corps that's receiving the orders. So on the 1500 turn, the next turn we'll roll for acceptance on that order. So we can consider that order issued. I should have here that the cost is 8 rather than 6 because Rosecrans is issuing a written complex order here. 5 points for the written, if I remember. Yeah, 5 points for command points for written, 3 for complex, making it a total cost of 8. And again, it does have to be a complex order because even though I didn't specifically say, well, to defend the road near the Brock Cabin, I would interpret that order if I were commanders giving me authority to engage the enemy if I encountered them either on the way to the Brock Cabin or once I got to the Brock Cabin. So that will have to be a complex order. So so we've issued the order. Let's go back to our sequence of play. Next step is corps attack stoppage checks. We don't have to do that yet. Initiative order determination. I guess I could give Reynolds one more shot to get initiative to bring Turkin's brigade down, so let's do that. Find our initiative chart. Reynolds rating is a 3, so we need to roll a 10 or higher, and we're risking a loose cannon roll if we roll a 2 on a 2d6. So let's do our 2d6. Rolled an 8, nothing happens, so that's our initiative attempt. Delay reduction. We don't have any orders on the Union side that have already been accepted and are in delay status, so we skip that step. Now we're at the new order acceptance step, and this is the step where we roll for acceptance on the order that we issued in the previous turn. I don't know why that one comes up every time. You know what, I'm just going to close it for now. So this order here, it's arriving at 1430 at 21st Corps headquarters. So let's roll for acceptance to see what happens with that order. Find our acceptance chart. Now let's see, just to recalculate this. So Crittenden's rating is a 1 as well as Rosencrantz, so we're on the 1 plus 1 equals 2. This was written 0. Complex is minus 2, so that puts us back at 0. So we're on the 0 to 1 column here. So let's roll a 2d6. Notice, unfortunately, an A means that the order would be immediately accepted, but alas, there is no chance of that happening with this roll. We just don't have enough command abilities in the Army of the Cumberland to get any command to work that quickly, at least not without issuing an in-person order. So we'll roll our 2d6. Rolled a 7. We got a d1, which means that on subsequent turns during the delay resolution step, we're going to roll a 1d6, and if we get a 1 or a 2, then the order will be accepted immediately. If we get a 3 or higher, then it's still in delay and we just keep rolling on the table. So I will put that in our chart. All right. So we're done with the command segment of the sequence of play. Now let's go to movement and close combat. Straggler recovery, nothing to do with stragglers, so we're at the actual movement and close combat phase. And there are some movements we're going to want to consider for the Union Army. The first one is, obviously, remember, Negley has accepted orders to march his division north to the Army of Cumberland headquarters, so let's take care of that right away. Each of these brigades have 6 movement points, but since they're in column, a road hex only counts a half here, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So he reaches, so the first brigade, well, this brigade reaches here in 10, but remember there's really like two more B-level sub-brigades stacked behind here, but they have enough movement points to reach here, so they're just going to stop right here. And now we'll consider this brigade here all in this one hex. They're not spread out anymore. This one will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So he moves here with 2 B-level, regiments or sub-brigades down here, and then this one will move here. So that completes our movement of Negley's division. and now Negley has arrived, the leader has arrived in the Army of the Cumberland headquarters, and since Rosecrans is also present in that same hex, the next turn Rosecrans will be able to issue an in-person order to Negley to do whatever Negley will want Negley to do to contribute to the defense here. The other move I want to consider has to do with the fact that all of this 24th Corps artillery is stacked with this one brigade. This is just how the setup for the scenario said to place that artillery, put it all with that one division, but we're not obligated as the Union player to do it that way. We would be allowed to break up that 5 points of 21 Corps artillery into subunits and distribute them more equally across some or all of these brigades. And the reason we might want to do that is that that will make it less likely that we have to suffer a retreat if and when Stuart's division engages here. And the reason, let's look at how that happens. We need to look at the morale chart. And I discussed this on the previous video, I believe. And I think I pointed out that the retreat results on the morale table are in these columns. So notice there's back 1, back 1, back 2, back 2. Those are the retreat results. So reaching these points on the morale table is what forces a unit to retreat in this game. However, notice that there's an asterisk here, and what the asterisk refers to is it says that units stacked with unlimbered artillery, but not guns alone in a hex, or those at a sunken road or trench may ignore the retreat result. So what that means is if we say if we as the Union player put artillery, even one unit of it in this hex, then if I the Confederate player engage this brigade in combat, then it would not suffice to end up either on this column or this column on the morale table. I would have to get an extremely bad morale result. Well, the Union player would have to get an extremely bad morale result to be forced to retreat, making a retreat very unlikely if I distribute my artillery more equally between these brigades. Now, that's not the only thing we could do. The other thing we can do as a Union player, and I kind of alluded to this, if you remember, in the previous video when I originally was going to stack all the brigades of Stuart's division in one hex, and then I thought, well, wait a minute, that's not a good idea. I'm going to spread them out. The reason why that would have been a bad idea is because if I had done that, I'll put it back here for a second, then the Confederate player could, on this turn, now this would have to be, we would have to make a decision that this would be permitted by the the order that Van Cleve's division is operating under. Now, of course, I, as the Confederate player, don't know what those orders are. Those are kept hidden from me. But assuming that, the Union player thinks, well, it is well, let's just forget about the orders that Van Cleve are under, and I'll just point out that what Van Cleve could do here is put one division here, and go 2, 4. Then he would turn the unit to bring a frontal hex side into here, and then he would have 1, 2, 3A worth of firepower to fire into this hex. whereas this whole division would only have one A worth of fire level to fire back with, because remember, even though up to 3 A's of strength can stack in one hex, only 1 A's worth of strength can fire out of a given hex during any fire movement stage. So leaving aside the question of what Van Cleve's orders are, putting all the brigades in one hex would have been a really bad idea. Now, so what I did was, the last one I put down here. Oops. I put down here. However, that doesn't completely solve the problem, because again, I as Van Cleve could bring my infantry here, 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 so lining up 3 A's of strength, 3 A's of worth of, independent firepower here against only 2 A's of firepower here. So I would still have an advantage. However, what I would not be able to do if I did that would be to bring my artillery along, and I'll explain why. The way moving the well, for a couple of reasons. One is that I wouldn't have enough movement strength, movement points to do that. To flip it to its limber side would count 3. Then to move limbered artillery through the woods is limbered artillery through woods or forest is 3. So that would give me 6, and I would not have enough movement points to flip it back, so I'd be able to use the artillery. The second reason why is that in this game you are not allowed to unlimber artillery in the zone of control of an enemy unit. And since you can't really see very well here, but since this hex is facing this way, this is a frontal hex side that is in the zone of control. This is a frontal hex side, so this is in the zone of control of this brigade, and then the rules would prohibit me, regardless of movement points, from unlimbering that artillery while it's so, directly in the line of fire of this brigade. So I can actually revert the move here. So Van Cleve moving his his brigades forward would come with a cost, namely he'd be leaving his artillery behind. So what I'm going to do, and again this is a judgment call. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stay in position here and redistribute my artillery across all of these 3 brigades. So I'll leave 2 on my flank, on each of my flanks, and I'll put 1 in the center. So to do that, I need to find some. Oops. Some artillery detachments here. So I'm going to put 1, and this will be, strictly speaking, this will be movement. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to pull 2 of them off here. So they're all going to start, I'm not going to put them in the hex, but they're going to start here. And so initially they have to they're starting out as unlimbered in firing position. So they're going to spend 3 movement points to flip. But now the nice thing is this is along a road, and remember that limbered artillery can move along a road 1 hex with half a movement point. So they've got 3 here, 3.5, 4. They've got 3 movement points left. That allows them to unlimber, and they can and in this game you can rotate for free. So now we've got the frontal hex side of the artillery pointed in this direction, and we're going to get some point markers here. We're going to use point markers to represent the strength. Oops. So I'm going to put 2 units of artillery here. We'll put the artillery on top of the strength marker. Then I'm going to put the infantry strength marker on top of that. And then I'm going to put the actual brigade on top. And I'll do the same thing here. So I'll put him here. This is going to be a 1. He goes on the bottom. Then him. I guess he's just A level, not AB level. So then we'll put Van Cleve on top, and we're good there. Now the only thing we have left to do is to put a 2 marker at the bottom of this hex, which will represent the fact that this artillery now is at 2 strength level rather than 5 strength level. We'll flip him back, but he'll be no longer at 5 points. He'll be at 2 points. And I think I got that right. Yep. All right. So now through movement, I've redistributed the artillery across all the brigades of Van Cleve's division, so that no matter where the attack comes, the division will be especially resilient and less likely to have to retreat in the face of an attack than they were before. And I think that accords well with the overall Union plan to try to hold this road for as long as they can while Negley's division and the 21st Corps and the 20th Corps make their way into the area. Once the Union can gather all of its strength along the road, then it might be time for the Union to start think about taking offensive action, because then I think they'll have the strength advantage in that portion of the field. So that's all the movement that we're going to do. There's no ammo resupply. Now we're in the fire combat phase, and there's still no firing to be done for the reasons I explained in the previous video. There isn't the combination of line of sight and the right distance, the right range for any fire combat to take place. So we're essentially, and there's no rallying to be done. So we're done with this turn. I'll end the video here. And in the next video, we'll start with the 1500 turn and the Confederate phase of that turn. And so what we're going to see happen, just to look forward, is that Stuart's division will be on the march, and we'll see an attack. First Corps will, we as the Confederate player will roll for Hood to implement his orders to start the attack we ordered him to take. And then we'll see Bragg issue an in-person verbal order to Preston to start his movement on the field. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.